103.3.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
I hope you're having a great Tuesday. Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. So many stories, so many different people. Look, I said it before, but it was so interesting at the beginning of Coast Vue when we were doing these hour-long shows. Still do them an hour long from time to time. People said you're going to run out of people to talk about. And it's amazing to me. People continue to come out of the woodwork. There's so many incredible stories. I mean, you think about George Bush's 1,000 points of light. Just think about the number of volunteers it takes to make a community like coastal Mississippi tick. Think about all the challenges we've had, the disasters that we've had. We're so lucky to live here and have so many really incredible people. I mean, whether they're volunteers or starting their own business or running businesses or working for great employers. Man, there's just so many stories to tell. And I'm really honored that I get this opportunity every single day to tell these stories. Hey, I want to share something that my friend Stacy Waldrop posted, and it came from #SpeakLife, and it's very short and sweet, but it is so powerful. And I would say if there's a theme to Coast Vue, I hope that this quick little sentence captures the theme. But here it is. One kind word can change someone's entire day. It's that simple. One kind word can change someone's entire day. Hey, look, man, we work in the hospitality industry down here. Well, yeah, we've got Ingalls and Chevron on one end as a bookend and Stennis Space Center on the other end as a bookend. But in between, there's an incredibly important tourism market. I think about 1/3 of the total state's tourism market is right here in coastal Mississippi. It's very important. So a lot of people understand the power of being positive, the power of speaking nicely to someone, letting them know in this moment that they are the most important person in your life. I mean, that's what hospitality is all about. You know, we don't really have to teach that mostly. We don't. There's some people who need a little bit of lesson around it. But most people in Mississippi, particularly here in South Mississippi, it's in our DNA. It's in our DNA to care about our neighbors, to treat people well. That's why we call it the hospitality state for sure. I'll read it one more time. One kind word can change someone's entire day. And, you know, with that in mind, we have a terrific guest today. I've been really looking forward to visiting with Jacqueline Wilson. She's the president of the Biloxi Beach Resorts Rentals, and she really has a great story. She sent me her bio. It was very short, and embedded in it is dogged determination and passion and entrepreneurship. And I said, this is one of the most impressive resumes that I've gotten. It's really, really impressive. And you'll understand why here in just a second. But Jacqueline, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, Ricky.
It's good to see you here. You know, you've got a great story. You're a lifelong Biloxi resident. You went to Mercy Cross. You went to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. So did I. So did so many people who were on this show. We're really actually lucky because Gulf Coast Community College is part of a community college system in Mississippi that is one of the most important and one of the best in the United States. You constantly ranked toward the top, if not at the top. And then in that system, Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College is #1 in that system. So, I mean, we have one of the strongest nursing programs in the United States. What they're doing in job skills and jobs development, working with Ingalls and others, is really revolutionary, and it continues to be very, very strong. So you and I were very lucky that we had an opportunity to go to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. You got a degree in court reporting, but it didn't take you long to decide that's not what you wanted to do. And you landed at Biloxi Beach Rentals, and like in a short 10 years, you ended up buying the company. That's really impressive.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
So let's start with this. You grew up in Biloxi. Where did you get, who instilled the values of entrepreneurship in you? Where did you, tell me about your story growing up.
Well, it's really my entire family. My mama and papa, Jacobina and Andrew Gillich, started the first supermarket in downtown Biloxi. And they really just instilled the values of hard work and family in all of us. And I just learned from so many in my family. My mama was a strong woman involved in so many community things. And I remember at her funeral, the line was wrapped around the church for her, for people to pay their respects, not because of, having the grocery store, but because she was kind and she helped people. And that was important to me. And I want to live my life that same way. And my mama was a huge role model for me. My mother was a single mother of 3 daughters. Yes, she raised 3 daughters. We're all very successful, married, happy with children. And she's my role model. She really taught me that no matter what, you continue to fight and you make something of yourself.
I've had some really, really good conversations with Mayor Fofo Gilich about the history of Biloxi and the role that the Croatian community played in helping to develop it. Certainly there are it's a melting pot, let's face it. Biloxi is clearly a melting pot, but the Croatian community is very significant. And I married into the Bahanovic clan and had gotten to know that really well. Been over to Croatia with my wife, Ann, and plan to take the whole family over there in the next couple of years. But even when I was talking to Fofo, he talked about the old grocery stores and the role that played in everyone's lives. But they had those long before the Del Champs and the Walmarts. These were really critical places, weren't they?
They were. And for our family, it wasn't just a grocery store. It was the central of our family. The grocery store is connected to my grandparents' home. It still is. It's now my uncle's dentist office, Dr. Bryce's dentist office. They converted it into his office many years ago, and it's still connected to my grandparents' home. And that building, we still call it Foodland, has so many memories for us. So it wasn't just a grocery store where you could go and get your produce and things like that. That's the central hub of our family. And it still holds so many memories. And my mother, just this past weekend for the Nativity School Halloween Carnival, she fried pusheratas at my papa's house because that's where we've always done it.
Yeah.
And so it's still the central location of our family. And, it's important to us, and our Croatian heritage, it is embedded in us to, stay with our family and hard workers and determination and all that. And Uncle Fofo is a great example of it. He loves Biloxi with all of his heart, and that's really how all of our family is. My mama and papa loved Biloxi.
Yeah, you learned it. Well, see, the thing is, that the culture of work was perpetuated through the kids and the grandkids, and you learned a lot about how to treat people. You learned a lot about how to run business. You learned a lot about determination, and there was a lot of an underdog mentality in that generation of Biloxi that wanted to come up. So many of the kids and the grandkids went on to college and have gone on to do amazing things. And I've had terrific stories with Fofo about that. But there's a lot of entrepreneurs that have arisen from that culture as well. You just see it. It's that second and third generation of, we want that next generation to do better. And it was instilled into the kids, wasn't it?
It was. And that's what I grew up with. My mother always told me, you can do whatever you want to do. You be successful for you and take care of yourself. No one can take that away from you. And I always grew up with that mentality, and watching her struggle raising 3 daughters. But my family was there. My grandparents were there. My Uncle Fofo was there. My Aunt Jay was there. They took care of all of us because we were a tight-knit family. So I grew up with all that, and they're amazing people. And I always wanted to be like my mom and my aunt and my uncles because they were all successful and they did it on their own.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They did it all on their own.
Yeah, just one other quick point about Fofo. I hope that maybe you haven't seen it, but maybe you have seen my hour-long Coast Vue session with him. And before we met, or I actually knew each other before we started that session, I said, "Would you mind if I got into your head a little bit?" And he's like, "Sure." He just went along with it very wonderfully. But I wanted people to see that Fofo is a really smart guy. He's a computer programmer. He's got a degree in mathematics. And his speech pattern sometimes suggests maybe people draw the wrong conclusion from that. But the problem is that his mind is moving so fast that it sort of it causes a different kind of a speech pattern. But if you listen carefully, what you find is there's a visionary there, there's determination, and really there's heart. I mean, listen, anyone should just go to the Croatian golf tournament. What is it called? What is it?
The Slavic.
The Slavic. For whatever reason, I can't get that to memory, but then walk around with him. If you have 1,000 people in the room, he may not know 10. I mean, he knows everyone in there by name, and he knows their kids. And anyway, he's a super smart guy, really smart guy. And we've learned a lot on Coast Vue about that Croatian community that you're referring to here in just a second ago. But you got a degree in court reporting, and you went on to become employed at Biloxi Beach Resort Rentals in 2011. And what we'll do now, we're going to move on to the break. But when we come back, I want to see, that 10 years from 2011 to 2021, you became first of all really passionate about the hospitality industry. You believed this is sort of where you were going to put your stake down and make your sort of entrepreneurial mark. You purchased a company, and here we sit today as you continue to expand your company. And I want to talk about that. So when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with the president of Biloxi Beach Resorts Rentals, Jacqueline Wilson. See you after this.
Coast View on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
It's 2021 and J. Allen Toyota still has a lifetime warranty on all new Toyotas. They all come with Toyota Care. We've got a great rental department. We've got great used cars. We've got a parts and service department ready to help you. So when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else. SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visits.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We're having a terrific conversation with Jacqueline Wilson, who's the president of Biloxi Beach Resorts Rentals. And one of the things, you came out as a court reporter. I'm assuming you worked for a little bit of time in that area. Is that what you did?
Well, not quite court reporting. I graduated, I interned, and then I figured out quickly that being in the courtroom and hearing all those horrific stories was not for me. So Katrina happened, and I was looking for a job. I just so happened to fall upon like a receptionist position at Strogeny & Strogeny Financial Services, and I loved it. I stayed there. I did taxes. Miss Jane taught me everything about accounting. Mr. Mike taught me taxes and investments, and I stayed there, and I loved it there. They really set the foundation for what I do here at Biloxi Beach. And the opportunity came up to come here. I interviewed for the job. I had all the experience in accounting that was needed, and that's when I got the job here.
Wow, that's awesome though. It's interesting. And I can describe a lot of twists and turns in my life very similarly, where when I was a young paramedic, I decided that kind of death and dying wasn't for me, and I kind of decided to move on. But then I met someone who encouraged me to do an internship at the Sun Herald, and there are these serendipitous points in your life. Mm-hmm. But your time in an accounting firm, just think about it, how it prepared you to own your own business ultimately.
It did. It absolutely did. So when the opportunity came to me to purchase this company, one of my first calls was to Mr. Mike and Miss Jane Strogeny. And well, first of all, it was to say how excited I was, but also because I would need their help and guidance once again as a business owner this time, not as an employee. So it was nice for them to see what all they had taught me, and that it's come full circle, and look what it's brought me now. I hold the Strogenys very close to me. They're great people.
Well, purchasing that, and we can talk about what we're talking about because it's a large company. Purchasing that was no small feat, I might add. And I've been involved in mergers and acquisitions in my prior life. So you were having to do internal rates of return. What's the long-term income going to look like? What's the payback on that going to look like? Are we going to be able to cover the interest expense from the loans that we're going to have to get? And I don't even know what the numbers were on the ultimate buy, but you're talking about some significant leveraging that had to occur to make this thing work. How big is your company? Talk just in terms of numbers of units.
So I have almost 170 condos here between Biloxi, Gulfport, and Ocean Springs, and I have almost 40 employees.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. I got a good sense of the work that you're doing. Myers Real Estate over in Gulf Shores. Do you know Sheila, who owns that company?
No, I do not. No.
Yeah, she's terrific. And she just to give you an idea, she controls about half of the rentals in Gulf Shores. So it's just a very large company. She owns her own, cleaning company. She had a manufacturing process that cleans, bed linens, et cetera. Oh, yeah. Very, very large organization. But all those bits and pieces, don't you?
I do. I'm very familiar with it. I can do it in my sleep. I know so much of it, We're very much like Myers. We're an inclusive management company. So we have housekeeping, maintenance, reservations. I have a corporate office here with an owner relations manager that she helps recruit new owners and handle all of our current owners. So it's a large operation. People don't realize how much goes into it. But then when you sit down and you sit with me for a minute and you watch my day to day, you're like, okay, there's a lot that goes into this. But it's fun. We try and keep it fun as much as possible. Summer's a little stressful. But once summer's over, we try and enjoy ourselves. This summer was a very nice summer. We enjoyed it. We met a lot of new people, but it was stressful.
So let me ask you a question. Is there a larger vacation rental company on the coast?
No, I am the largest.
Wow, that's significant. And so when you started working there in 2011, did you have any idea that, 10 years later, you'd own the company?
I had no idea. I had no experience in hospitality. I was strictly doing accounting. And just over the years, I was so passionate about it. We didn't have the greatest leadership as far as general managers throughout the years when I was first here. And I could see from outside of the box where there were issues. And I felt very passionately about it. And I would go to the former owner and I'd say, this is what I see. Let's try this. And then one day I just kind of became the general manager. I just was doing everything, and then the next thing I know, I was offered to purchase the company, and here we are today. So
that's incredible. Hey, what I love about reading your story, Jacqueline, is that the culture of the company is really important to you. You spend a lot of time creating sort of this family atmosphere, even though you've got quite a number of employees. Talk about why that's so important to you.
Working in an industry like this, it can be very, very stressful, and the turnover can be very high. I don't like that idea. I like to keep my employees because it costs. Every time you turn over an employee, it costs you about 2.5 times their previous salary to find somebody. And the knowledge you lose is, it can be detrimental to your company. So I try to make it a fun environment. I try to make people know that I do care about you on a personal level and a business level. From previous employers of mine, I learned to care about my employees. And then I remember some bosses who weren't great, and I didn't want to be like them. I wanted to be better than that. And so that's why I try and instill that you're not just my employee, you're my family member. And without you, this company doesn't function. It goes from, even if you're a housekeeper, if I don't have that housekeeper, my units aren't getting cleaned. So every person plays a very vital role in this company, and everyone has their own personalities, their own families, their own backgrounds. And I love to get to know everyone. And I love for them to know that if you need me, I'm here for you. And I feel like all my employees know that.
And Jacqueline, that makes a big difference. During the pandemic, I mean, obviously there were huge challenges during the pandemic. You guys had to sort of change the way. There's a lot of unknowns initially. And then as the knowns became better known, you knew sort of how your industry was going to work within all of that. But were you able to maintain sort of a higher level of employees and keep churn to a minimum relative to other hospitality type industry members?
We were, we kept our team. We were able to keep our team. And that was the most important thing. We found things for them to do. Because for a while we didn't take new reservations. We allowed the existing reservations to come in, but we did shut down and not allow new ones because at the time we didn't know what was going on, So at that time we kept everyone employed. There were a few who decided to, leave for medical reasons. They didn't feel safe, and that was fine. But most of them came back after we kind of knew what was going on. But during the pandemic, we kept everyone. And we kept, we found work for them to do. And that was a good thing because once we opened back up in May of 2020, once the state kind of came back, that was it. We have been just crazy full since that May.
That's it. It really is. And I hear, I hear that across the board. Jacqueline, you and I have had a lot of offline conversations about the clutter or noise, whatever you want to call it, coastal Mississippi tourism. That aside, it's so important, isn't it? Whatever adjustments need to be made so that we can never face a situation like we faced over the past year, it's so important us to stay focused on promoting Coastal Mississippi in a very numbers sort of way, in a statistical kind of way, so we know who's coming here. We were really smart about how we did that in the early days of the pandemic, focusing on the people who were going to come here in cars, excuse me. But I know that you've watched all that noise with interest. So what's your observation about it?
In the beginning of Coastal Mississippi, I wasn't really for the one coast, because I did believe, hey, Harrison County, we're the ones bringing in the majority of this money. Now, that was before I got really knee deep into this business and learned more about our customers, where they're coming from, who we're renting to. Now I am all for one coast. And I believe that we have to stay united on this. What people don't understand is, like, for my customers, they're not here to gamble. They're here for other things. They're here for family activities. They like to go to the beach. They want to go to downtown Bay St. Louis or downtown Ocean Springs. There are other things outside of our casinos that people are coming here for. Now, I know our casinos are a great deal of our tax revenue, and they do put us out there in a different way. And, I appreciate that. But I believe that we have to be united as one coast, because there is a little bit of everything for everyone along here. And all of our customers are different. So I really think that we need to stay united on that.
I think we will. I think there will be adjustments made as we go forward. Sometimes we think too insularly, like, where's all the money coming from? We should have all the control, as opposed to what's best for our customers. If we would get the focus back on the tourists who are coming here and understand what they want to do when they get here, then there would be zero debate about this. We would all share responsibilities. We would empower a board that understood their governance role, and we would move forward. But listen, I have really enjoyed this time with you, Jacqueline, and I look forward to visiting with you in a few weeks or months. We'll check in with you again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you, Ricky, for having me. This has been a blast. I really enjoyed it.
You bet. This has been Jacqueline Wilson, the president of Biloxi Beach Resort Rentals. And when we come back, we'll continue another conversation.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
Get the scoop on what happened in college football and what to expect in the NFL. Each Sunday on Sports Sunday with Michael Borky. Get the story behind the stats, 8 to 10 a.m. on SuperTalk Mississippi, supertalk.fm, and watch the show on supertalk.tv. SuperTalk Mississippi. We're more than just words. This is where the story of your state is told. Proud to cover the Magnolia State like nobody else. SuperTalk Mississippi.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard to find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Of outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visit.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and,
Wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive, fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show
on SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome back to Coast View. I really enjoyed that conversation with Jacqueline Wilson. We're very lucky in Coastal Mississippi to have so many dedicated leaders and CEOs, people who are really, they're betting a ranch on tourism in Coastal Mississippi, and it's awesome to hear those stories. Hey, we're going to go to Nick Conger, Dr. Nick Conger, in just a second. I want to share one thing that my friend Senator Jeremy England shared on Facebook, and it's actually a really good lesson. Here it is. As King Solomon said long ago, there's nothing new under the sun. There have been hard times before, just as we have now, harder even. There have always been corrupt and evil people. Also, as King Solomon said in his infinite wisdom, we should not dwell on those things. Why focus on things that create anger and feelings of despair? And then he said, turn off the news. That kind of reminded me of something that Zig Ziglar said, somebody I followed early in my career, really kind of changed my career in a way because it helped me think about goal setting. Wrote a great book called Top Performance, just a terrific book. But he said this, you are what you are and where you are because of what has gone into your mind. You can change what you are and where you are by changing what goes into your mind. We have a tendency to surround ourselves with negative people who don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And think about that. Think about when you see the light at the end of the tunnel, there's terrific hope, there's opportunity, there's reason to take risk. And, if we get stuck in sort of the grind and surrounded by people who are negative, we can't reach our potential. Just something to think about. Now let's switch over to my friend, Dr. Nicholas Conger, and just say good morning first. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Good morning. How are you today?
Good. It's been a long time since we chatted. I've been looking forward to circling back with you. I've been watching the COVID numbers. Things have improved tremendously. But, obviously, anytime we say that, we always have to acknowledge that there are still people who are struggling. But the numbers are moving in the right direction, and I look forward to sort of getting, the latest from you. So as you sit there today, how do you assess the COVID situation?
So, it's kind of like a hurricane came through, right? And just caused a lot of destruction, and then it left, and then you have like a sunny day. And it's kind of how it is with COVID right now, is that Delta variant was so contagious and sent so many people to the hospital and caught so many people who are not immune, and even some people who were vaccinated, and it just burned through so fast. And now we're at this kind of lull. Not that it's gone. There are, as you stated, there are some people who are still pretty sick in the hospital. There are still some new cases that come in. So it's just at a really, really low level, So we're at a lull right now. And last time we were in a lull, people had a chance to kind of get vaccinated if they wanted to, and work on their health in general. And here we have another lull. And I'd still encourage people who are not vaccinated and did not get COVID yet. Another wave could come through. So now's your chance to get vaccinated and get your body healthy too, because the healthier you are, definitely the better you do with this virus.
Boy, it's been a hell of a journey for you over the last year or two. And I think about when the Delta variant came. You had a good sense, or at least based on your education and what you've been reading, that it would burn through fast, and you hoped that would be the case, that it wouldn't linger, and that we wouldn't get another variant, rapidly on the heels of Delta that changed the picture. I know that I've been reading around the world, there's some variants and whatever, but nothing to be seriously concerned about yet. What's your read on that?
Yeah, very early we discussed herd immunity, and that became like the buzzword, and herd immunity doesn't exist. We're moving the target. How many people need to be immune, et cetera. But, the bottom line is, if you've had the infection, your chance of, really getting sick from a reinfection is really, really low. And if you're vaccinated, we found out with this Delta variant, you can still catch it, still about 10 to 15 times less likely than if you were unvaccinated, but it's milder. And so even if these new variants roll through, if there's a lot of immunity in the community, a lot of herd immunity from either prior infection or vaccination, then even if it rolls through again, you would hope that hospitalizations are down, deaths are down, so it does become something milder like the seasonal flu.
Wow. Well, let's hope that is the case. But you're not hearing anything. Again, one of the great things about the COVID, I say it's probably the only great thing about COVID, as it relates to this worldwide pandemic, is that we get the ability now, because of technology and otherwise, to really follow what's happening around the world. So do you see anything in any other country now that gives you concern?
So, there's some chatter again from England, which has about a 70% vaccination rate, that there's a strain that's causing some cases there. But again, as far as I know, the cases have been more mild, less hospitalization, less death. And so to me, I think that's a reminder that we're probably not ever going to get to zero COVID. It's just we're going to have to kind of learn to live with it as a smoldering thing. And so I think things like that will wax and wane. Like I said, I've said this before, I don't want to get in the COVID prediction business, because you never know what strain's coming around the corner. But hopefully that Delta strain, as bad as it was, hopefully everyone who was going to get it, hopefully they got it, so that we don't go through another massive spike like that again.
Yeah. What you observed in the health community during this pandemic, I know it's been frustrating and inspiring and all that. Frustrating from the point of view of just it was unrelenting there for a while, and when you get into these really severe cases, while there was some hope, oftentimes it was almost hopeless, but you had to give it a shot, because you didn't know which one of those folks were going to emerge from their respirator situation. But man, I bet sometimes you pinch yourself on a Sunday morning and say, was that just a bad dream?
Yeah, to that point, I'll give a shout out to a friend and colleague, George Cotty, who's an excellent critical care physician and pulmonologist here at Memorial, and he gives a little speech. And so I'm stealing his material. I'm giving him credit, but a speech about the 1%, the margins. There's some patients, that in his opinion come in the ICU and they're going to get better no matter what you do unless you really mess it up. And then there's some patients who come in the ICU and because of their disease state, they're probably going to die no matter what you do, even if you give them the best care in the world. But there's a small percentage, maybe 1 to 5%, that your care really matters. And that's kind of the inspirational speech he gives to the ICU folks, that you don't know which one that is. And so if there's 1, 2, or 3, or 5 out of 100 that your care makes a difference, you got to give that 100% effort to everybody, because you don't know which is the one that's going to make an impact. And that's something he tries to, motivate them, because you certainly do see staff members, doctors, nurses, technicians that are burnt out right now. And a lot of them are rethinking how long do they want to do this, and do they want to get out of medicine, in general.
Yeah, when I've had the opportunity to go over to Singing River Health System with Lee Bond, the administrator there, and see with my own eyes what was happening in the ICU. When I was there, the ICU was full. The surgical ICU was full, all COVID patients on respirators. And there were 3 additional patients down in the emergency room that had been there for 2 or 3 days just waiting for an opening to be able to go up. But, man, in talking to these critical care professionals, I'm sure it's exactly the same there. Their commitment to just seeing it through. But at the same time, you could just feel the strain was taking its toll on them emotionally, day in and day out. I say this often on my show, Nick, that you have, it's hard sometimes to think about an abused child. It's hard to think about homeless people or people who can't be, who can't, feed their family. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind for so many people, because it's hard to think about it. And in the COVID situation, hard to think about how many people, how many families were suffering with loved ones who were in ICUs on respirators. And to be in that situation as a critical care professional and see it day in and day out, day in and day out, so many people dying, man, that's just, when you say take its toll, to see it with my own eyes, buddy, it made a lasting impression on me.
Yeah. And think back, like at the beginning of this pandemic, we weren't allowing visitors in. We didn't have enough PPE to give to the visitors. And so those same people that you saw 2 years later, many of them were at the bedside, caring for, basically talking to people as they were dying. They're the only people around, and so they were doing so much more than just basic nursing care. They were there. They were the loved ones. They were their family members. They were praying with them. They were singing to them. They were holding their hand, as people were dying. And for that to go on for 2 years, it's been tough.
Well, so at its height, how many infusions? Remind me how many infusions you guys were doing in a week's time?
So we were up to 150 a day, and we were going towards 200. If you're talking about the monoclonal antibody infusion.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
We were approaching 200 a day, and we kept that pace up, 150 to 200 for about 2 weeks.
Wow. So where are you today?
Maybe 10 a week.
Really?
Yeah.
So that is terrific. So let me ask you this, and you and I have not talked about this before, but the strain on the healthcare profession, now that things have settled down now, how worried are you about the long-term sustainability of just medical care in general because of the stress that's been put on the system? And has it revealed some things that need to be fixed? One might be pay. One might be, I don't know what all the issues might be. The issue of traveling nurses and how so many people were jumping off to go do the traveling nurse thing. Why don't we do this, Nick? Let's we're coming to the end of this segment. We'll pick that up on the other side. I also want to ask you about the latest on ivermectin and talk about this kind of Joe Rogan dispute with CNN and why that was important. We'll come back to that in just a second. But this is Dr. Nicholas Conger, an infectious disease doctor at Memorial, and we'll see you after this break.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi.
It just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Del Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, 2 streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera flips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. I have my friend Dr. Nicholas Conger. It's interesting. We've never met in person, but we've been on the show together and shared all these conversations, even during my own COVID experience a year ago. You were a lot of help to me, but it's so interesting. We've never laid eyes on each other in person, but I feel like we've become good friends. When we went to break, we were talking about the challenges that COVID either caused or revealed in the medical industry. When you think about the world around you, how much of that do you think will continue to linger?
Well, I mean, certainly the effects on like the psyche, like I said, and the motivation and the long-term effect of the healthcare workers is going to be an issue. Like I said, people are really burnt out. They really need breaks. They need vacations. And you alluded to the nursing situation where nurses became a hot commodity, and they could make a lot more money working other places, and some of them did. And I think healthcare administrators had to take a look at that and look at their flexibility. How quickly can you gear up and give 150 doses of a medication a day, and then turn around and you don't need it 3 weeks later. and surge capacity. That's always an issue. It is good to have surge capacity, meaning when you need extra beds, they're available. But if you're running a hospital, like a business, you're not in the business to lose money. Even that you're just trying to break even. Like I say, even if it's a nonprofit hospital, if you have a bunch of empty beds, a bunch of nurses that you don't need, and a bunch of doctors that aren't busy, well, that's not a very good model. So we tend in the United States not to have much surge capacity. And so you have to be kind of creative when the surge comes. I used to be in the military, and the military is kind of designed itself now, the military medical system, to kind of be that surge capacity where you could run somewhere and throw up a tent and start taking care of people if the local hospitals are overwhelmed. But that's kind of it. Otherwise, hospitals work about 85 to 95% full because that makes sense, and so those are some issues I think we should work on as a conglomerate going forward.
Yeah, I can see that being something that we need to get creative about, because it revealed a lot about the character of the people who are engaged in your profession and how committed they were. And what we learn about that, about the depth of the human ability to care for others and dig deep and all that. It's a pretty inspiring story. But you can only rely on that for so long over an extended period of time. You got to figure out where the reinforcement's coming from, and that will be an important conversation to have as we go forward. I alluded to ivermectin. Joe Rogan, the one, I think the top podcaster in America now. I like to listen to. I don't always agree with Joe, but what I like about Joe is that he continues to learn as he has these incredible guests and he adjusts his thinking. I sort of do that at Coast Vue. As I talk to people, they change my point of view about things. It opens my mind about others. It's a great position to be in, and to be able to talk to people like you and others. And so Joe has an interesting perspective. He gets COVID. He throws the kitchen sink at it. He takes ivermectin, Z-Pak. He gets the infusion, and then he gets monoclonal antibody. Let me say that correctly. He gets the infusion. Then he takes some vitamins and whatever. Throws the kitchen sink at it and has a pretty moderate case of it. See, all that CNN focused on, though, was the ivermectin, and said that this is a veterinary medicine and he's taking this horse pill, and it's just like this political agenda. And then of course, he challenged them and said that they were, why would they perpetuate a lie like that? That it was prescribed by the doctor. It's going to be interesting to look back to see the role that ivermectin played in all of this. I know you guys did some early work with it. When we got into severe case, I think you told me that it wasn't as effective. But what's your current thinking about it?
So, this is why kind of the medical establishment, pushes to doing things in randomized controlled trials. Because like you said, it's so hard to tell. If you take that one example of Joe Rogan, he might have done just fine if he had done none of that, And so you just don't know unless you enroll people in studies and give this group this and this group that. And so it's really difficult to tell in the face of a pandemic when people throw in the kitchen sink. And that's a debate. There was an infectious disease meeting at the beginning of COVID, and that was actually a debate topic. Do you throw the kitchen sink at people with all these medicines that might do something, or do you do nothing? And it almost comes down to kind of the mentality people have. And so all these medicines, hydroxychloroquine was big for a while, ivermectin, azithromycin, doxycycline, the last two are antibiotics. There's a bunch of them. They may have a mild antiviral effect. They may have an anti-inflammatory effect. If you study them individually, it's really hard to show that they do have a benefit. But then you hear what if you combine them? So you hear things of azithromycin plus hydroxychloroquine worked, or hydroxychloroquine plus ivermectin worked. And, it's just, we don't have studies to prove it one way or the other. I think that the lesson from the Joe Rogan story is, but we do need to have honest conversations. Like, if you don't, there are some people who did go out to veterinary stores and buy veterinary grade ivermectin, and that is dangerous. At the same time, there is doctor prescribed ivermectin, and if you take it for the short term, it's not harmful, and it might work. And so we just need to have honest conversations. We shouldn't make headlines or even medical papers based on our agenda. Just need to be honest with people. Some people take ivermectin, they believe in it. I don't have enough evidence to be for or against it, to be honest with you. I can tell you late in the course, though, I don't think it saves lives if they're sick enough to be hospitalized.
Dr. Nicholas Conger, one of the beauties of having conversations with you is you've always been one of the most practical-minded physicians I've ever met. You've been very practical, and you're not one party or the other. Somewhere in between, trying to make sense of this whole thing and trying to bring practical wisdom to the conversation, which too often is missing. So, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. We'll see you soon.
Hey, it's great to be back. Thanks for having me again.
You bet, buddy. Take care. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.